Hello, today is Proverbs 14:4 that says, "Where no oxen are, the manger is clean, but much revenue comes by the strength of an ox." This has always been one of the most fascinating proverbs for me. When I first read it, the first thing that came to mind was Christ being born in a manger and how his life became so messy, how there was so much turmoil and stress and conflict, and ultimately, as he was crucified, the mess that happened, the disorder, the chaos. But yet, as it says here, much revenue, or we could think of it as much profit, comes from the strength of an ox. There was so much profit brought about by Christ, the eternal riches of God's glory and grace given to multitudes of people saved by him and through him. So that's the first thought that comes into mind when I think of this proverb. Where no oxen are, the manger is clean. Christ was born in mess. He was born in the mess of this world and the chaos and the sin, the dirtiness, the filth of this world. But yet, because of that, because the Father gave him and sacrificed him for us in this world, there was much profit, much strength given to those that were in need. So that's, whenever I've read this in the past, the first place my mind has gone and the blessing I get from that. But there's also another idea, or a few other ideas associated with this proverb. Another one is later on in the same proverb in verse 23, it says, "In all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." There's this idea that we can become complacent and say, I'm not going to deal with it. It's too messy. It's too much trouble. I'd rather things stay clean and tidy. I don't want to stir the pot. I don't want to stir up any trouble. But that's not always the right thing to do. And I'll talk about why that's associated with the church. But first is sort of a personal view of this, that I want to keep things clean. I don't want to cause any trouble. Well, sometimes doing what is right and obedient in God's eyes, doing what he's called us to do, means trouble. We can think of Paul as he was confronted with a lot of people that were angry at him at sharing the gospel. The apostles themselves, the same thing. Doing what God wants us to do won't always cause peace. It may cause turmoil at times. We don't seek for that to be the case, but that may happen. But that's a blessing again, that conflict isn't always bad. And lastly is the church. When you get a bunch of people together, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be mess, and that's not always a bad thing. It gives opportunity for us to bring people together, to reconcile, to correct, to rebuke, to love, to be patient. And so again, we have from Paul in Ephesians some of this instruction in Ephesians chapter 4 that really helps us deal with the mess that happens in the church, that happens when we draw together. But yet, there is much strength in that. There's a greater strength in the bond of the unity of the peace of God and his family in the end as we work through all of the mess. Don't be afraid of the mess when we're being obedient. Take care.